All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a huge challenge to how we think about mental health. And the answer, believe it or not, might actually come from geometry. Yeah, you heard that right.
So think about this for a second. What if our whole system for diagnosing mental health is basically stuck in 2D, but our consciousness, well, that's operating in 4D? This really gets to the core of a massive shift happening in science right now. It's suggesting that the maps we use for the mind aren't just a little off. They might be fundamentally, well, flat out wrong.
And this slide just lays it all out, right? On one side, you've got the old model. These straight lines from one thing to another, these neat little boxes we put people in. But then on the other side, you see what consciousness actually looks like. It's dynamic, it's multidimensional, it's got these incredible shapes like spirals and toroids. You see the problem? The map is flat, but the territory is anything but.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The biggest critics of this whole system? They're not outsiders. They are the very people who built it, the ones who ran the show. It's like the architects themselves are yelling, hey, there are huge cracks in this foundation.
I mean, listen to this. Thomas Insel, who used to be the head of the National Institute of Mental Health, basically said that the DSM, Psychiatry's Bible, is reliable. Sure, everyone's using the same words, but he says its big weakness is that it's not valid. It doesn't actually connect to reality. The analogy he uses is perfect. It's like a dictionary. It can define all the words, but it has no idea if the stories you're telling with them are true. And get this, the guy before Insel, Stephen Hyman, he didn't pull any punches either. He called the DSM's categories an epistemic prison. That's a fancy way of saying a prison for our knowledge. His whole point was that we started treating these made-up boxes as if they were real, and it literally stopped science in its tracks. It kept researchers from even thinking about asking different questions. And look, the hard science, the genetics, it's all pointing in the same direction. So the genetic link between schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, it's 0.60. Now, a perfect match is 1.0, so 0.6 is a huge overlap. We're talking about two conditions that our flat map says are completely separate things, but the biology just doesn't care about our little boxes. It's telling a totally different story.
So, okay, if the old map is junk, then what does the real thing look like? Well, this is the amazing part. The answer is coming from a field called topological neuroscience, which, I know, sounds complicated. But all it really means is that scientists are using geometry to find the actual shapes the mind makes when it's working. They're discovering the hidden architecture of our consciousness.
And this is a total game changer. A huge paper came out in 2022 from Nobel-winning scientists, no less, and they found something absolutely mind-blowing. When our brain cells work together, they don't just, turn on and off. Their activity actually traces the shape of a torus. That's right, a donut. And this isn't just a metaphor. This shape seems to be part of the fundamental operating system of the brain. So you can see how this just shatters the old models, right? We're all taught to think in a straight line. You've got depression over here, mania way over there, and you just move back and forth between them. It's simple, it's linear, and it turns out it's just not true. Because when you think in the shape of a donut, a torus, the rules completely change. Picture it. Those so-called extremes like mania and psychosis, they're not polar opposites at all. They're actually right next door to each other on the surface of this shape. And depression? It isn't the opposite of mania. It's more like your energy is stuck in one place, just spinning its wheels, unable to move forward on that path. This table really just hammers the point home. Let's break it down. One dimension, a line, just tells us severity. How bad is it? 2 dimensions, a flat plane, that's where we get our categories. It puts you in a box. But what about the 3rd dimension, your trajectory, where you're headed? Or the 4th, the whole process over time? Our current system almost never looks at that. In fact, think about it. The label chronic illness pretty much freezes you in time, denying that you're part of a dynamic, ongoing process. Okay, so this is the real takeaway here. This new geometry, it's not just about changing labels. It demands a totally new way of thinking about what healing even is. The goal completely shifts. We move away from just trying to crush symptoms, and we move towards building up a person's ability to navigate their own complex inner landscape. And there's this really cool new way to think about it, kind of like an equation for well-being. The idea is that the distress we feel, it's not just about how complex or hard life is, it's actually the gap between the natural complexity of our own mind and our ability to handle it. So the bigger that gap, the worse we feel. It's about the mismatch. And this flips the whole approach to treatment on its head. It's what's called a therapeutic inversion. See, the old logic was, let's reduce your distress by just suppressing your system. Let's make you less complex. But the new logic?
It says no, let's not shrink you, let's grow your skills. Let's build up your capacity to handle the amazing complexity you already have.
So, let's pull all these threads together. If our mind is this complex, beautiful, geometric space, then we're going to need a much better map to navigate it, right? We need a new guide for that journey of healing and transformation.
Here's one idea for what that map could look like. It's called the emergence equation. Basically, it says that for us to grow and develop new healthy patterns, we need a balance of 3 key ingredients. First, you need ground. That's your foundation of safety and stability. Then you need reflection, which is all about self-awareness and insight. And finally, you need difference, that spark of newness, whether it's from creativity, a new experience, or even from working through a trauma.
And all of this leads to a really powerful metaphor for this new kind of map, the ancient labyrinth. Now, it's really important to know, a labyrinth is not a maze. A maze is designed to trick you, to get you lost. A labyrinth, that's different. It's a single path. You follow it all the way to the center, you see what you need to see, and then you follow that same path out again, changed by what you experience.
And there's a quote from one of the sources for this explainer that just nails the whole thing. It says, "Psychiatry has no labyrinth, only boxes. Until now." And that's really the whole shift in a nutshell, isn't it? We're moving from static, confining boxes to a dynamic, transformative journey. So, let's end with this thought, which kind of turns the whole idea of recovery upside down. What if recovery isn't about getting back to some fixed point of normal on that old flat map? What if, instead, real recovery is about learning to navigate the incredible, dynamic, and beautiful geometry of your own mind? What if it's about becoming a skilled navigator of your own personal torus?